Empathic Listening. It's President's Day today, Monday, February 17th, and I'm talking about empathic listening. The only way we can communicate with people is through our senses, and the two primary ways are through hearing and vision. Sometimes they're touch and the other senses, but mostly let's just consider hearing and auditory and visual, because those are probably the most appropriate ways to listen. From those, we have to discern what other people are communicating with us. So for hearing, they speak, we listen, right? We speak, they listen. For visual, as they speak, we watch their body language. We watch for things. As we speak, they're watching our body language. And the better you can be acutely aware of what's going on, you'll become a better communicator. So let's take a look at the different types of ways people listen. The first type is like a baby. We kind of passively listen, something happens, but they could be gurgling and talking and we don't really pay attention. The second way of listening is half listening, just listening for stuff, for things that they say in a halfway. Like somebody starts talking and we're in our phone, we're not really paying attention. And that's what we'll see. Most people, that's the way they listen. They'll pick up their phone and be talking. And we'll be talking and they'll be on their phone, or they'll check their watch. And it shows a sign of disinterested. The third way of listening is listening with the intent of formulating an answer to respond. So we don't really listen acutely to what's going on. We're just, as soon as they talk, we're kind of come up with an answer, a rebuttal. The fourth way of listening is where we repeat back to them what they say. So things like, I went to the school today and I saw your teacher. Oh, you saw your teacher, huh? How did that go? Really? That's where you repeat back what they say. And that shows a form of listening where they respect, they understand what you're saying, and so they feel like you're listening to them. But there's another form of listening which is much more deeper, and it's a level of understanding, and it's called empathic listening. And what does an empathic listening mean? What does empathy mean? Empathy means we understand how the other person feels. You always hear about people who are empathic in science fiction. That person just looks at somebody and knows off the bat how they're feeling, because people can hide their feelings. So what we do, part of communication, is that if we really want to be effective listeners, we have to understand what the person is feeling. And that comes with empathic communication, empathic listening. And how that works is where we listen intently and try to understand what's behind what they're saying. I was listening to some Stephen Covey, 7 Effective Habits of People, that book, of highly effective people. And this is out of that book, which I'm reading this morning. And so what I really saw is that I know that the type of person I was years ago, and I can still fall back into it, is I can be a person that is not really half listening. But mostly, I was a person that would be trying to come up with an answer and talk, and you're sitting in arguments. And I recall, people will understand that you're not really listening to me, or they take it as I don't care that you don't care what they're saying, because you're trying to come up with the answer. I remember a person one time, one of my good friends, and we're still good friends, and it just struck me in a very hard way. He says, "You're not even listening to what I'm saying." So he was much more intent on the visual aspect, and he was right. And now I've looked at the intent of repeating back what people say, because if I can listen and hear what they're saying and repeat it back, to me it means that I'm listening intently. And that's the other form, and that's something I've been working on. But the thing that most people don't do is empathic listening, where you try to understand how the person is feeling. Give an example of I was talking to somebody and they were really frustrated with their job because they were in the business phone support, and what they said was, it's horrible that people think that they can treat people in phone support just trash and yell and scream at them, and it's rude and it's not right. But if they respond back in a negative way, that they can get written up and fired, and that's even internally within a company with phone support. So my response to that was, well, are they paying you? That's what you're paid to take. And that may be true, that you're being paid to take that abuse. But what I really learned from this morning was he really saying that, or was he trying to get me to understand how he feels? And if I could have repeated back to this person, so what you're telling me is that you're unhappy with the way things are at work sometimes, and with the way people treat you. Yes. Can you tell me a little bit more? Can you expand on that? What he really wanted to do was kind of vent. He understands that he gets paid and he has to take the abuse, and it's not fair. But what it was really, the intent of what the conversation was how he's feeling. And when a person comes to that point of view, it's an opportunity for you to say, well, please let me understand what you're saying here. And instead of repeating back, you understand and repeat back how they feel. And that's empathic listening, and that's what brings people closer together. It's feelings. But the question is, how do we become empathic ourselves? And the only way we can do that through is effective communication. People always deal with logic, but emotion is tens of times more, about 20-something times more powerful than emotion, than logic. So what we need to work on is listening empathically, empathic communication. It doesn't matter if the other person is unable to do it. It's important that you do it, and that person will become closer to you. And that's the object of what we're trying to do when we communicate, is build that relationship with people and have them be closer to you. So let's just take a look again. It's empathic listening. So that's what I've been working on. And that to me was a very profound thing to hear from Stephen Covey. Anyway, have a great day. It's beautiful out. It's 63 degrees, overcast in Arlington, Texas. And it's a beautiful day out. It was a fantastic day yesterday, and today is President's Day. Get it on, make changes in people's life, and move people forward, and move yourself forward too. As Zig Ziglar says, if you can have people if you give to people what they want, you can have anything that you want.